All right, so here we are with an exciting presentation from Alexandra Klann, who I have been stalking her on Instagram and all of the amazing tips that you have provided just through social media. So I can't imagine how amazing it is for you to be an actual coach for somebody to work through some of these challenges. One of the things that I find happens the most when I work with people is having to make multiple meals, having picky eaters, and especially when mom is really trying to eat healthy and also kind of bring the whole family together on board with that same vision. There can be resistance, especially if things have been done differently in the past. So I know that your coaching and your guidance can really help some of these moms and families through these challenges. And we're definitely excited to hear what you have to share with us this evening.
Thank you, Amy. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you and meeting you and hearing about all your wonderful work. I'm so excited to chat with your clients today about family meals. And my name is Alex. I am the owner of Tiny Bite Wellness. And I'm going to kind of make this brief because I know that your time is so valuable, but I packed a lot of information in here. So take what fits your family, leave what you don't think will work with your family. And a lot of these strategies can be age dependent on the child. So I know there were some older kiddos that had RSVP'd or moms that had older kiddos. So just feel free to pop in the chat if you're on, or you can always send me a message later if you need different strategies for younger kiddos. But a little bit about my background. I'm an occupational therapy practitioner and pediatric feeding specialist. For over 10 years, I've worked one-on-one with children with severe feeding challenges, and I'm a mom of two little boys that keep me on my toes. And now I coach parents on how to feed their family and work specifically with those with extreme picky eaters. So, a little bit of what we're going to go over today. What we're going to go over why I like family style dining, how I meal plan quickly, and some quick meal plan examples, and then some strategies for introducing new foods or challenging foods for your children. So I have been where you are. I've been on my own health journey for basically my whole life. I have done a variety of diets and meal plans. And then when you throw kids into the mix and your family, since the baby starts solids, it kind of throws everything off kilter. And you now have to think about different things when you're prepping. I've done my own autoimmune protocol that also threw everything off kilter with my family. I was like, what am I going to feed? Are my kids going to eat these foods that are gluten free, dairy free, like not processed foods after having the past of like eating tater tots and all of these other things? So I have been where you are on your health journey, and I just want to like commend you for that because that is huge that you are here and working with Amy and just on this journey yourself. And there is definitely a way to rewire patterns, even with your family, to help you reach those goals and make it a joint thing and this adventure of really just instilling this health for your kids. So I'm here to kind of just help guide you along the way with some of my strategies that have worked for my family and for my clients. So I really like doing family meals, and I know that this is something that's hard for families, especially when there's sports practices and parents working late, or if you, like my sister's a nurse, so she works overnight shifts right now. But ideally, eating at the dinner table with your family is going to be one of the best things that you can do. And one of the things that shocks parents a lot is that there are 32 steps to eating. So for a child, no matter how old, some of them don't go through every step, but if you have a child with autism or some sensory challenges, they might have to go through every single step when they're learning about a new food. So it's more than just sitting down and eating. Even being at the table can be a challenge for some of our little ones. So just taking that into account when you're thinking about changing things up They might need a little bit more warning about what's going into it. They might need some coping skills that go along with it. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind that there are so many different parts of eating for us. But I really love family meals because you focus on the relationship of the whole family, building that connection and that routine that it can have for your family as kind of like an anchor. Having a meal as a family can reduce stress around meal times when you're talking about other things that aren't related to food. I know a lot of families like doing um, the point and pit of their day, like the best part and the most challenging part of their day to kind of connect and just have something else to talk about besides food at meals. And it's a great opportunity to model the behavior that you want your kids to have. So even if you have a salad and your child has no interest in a salad, they're still going to see you eating that salad and maybe trying different dressings on your salad or different sides for your salad and seeing how you adapt to new things. And those are all great skills and all behaviors that we want them to eventually have. And it does encourage, obviously, better eating habits because they're seeing you model what you want them to do. And our kids learn by watching and being exposed to a variety of food and balanced meals. So when they see us preparing the meals and serving these balanced meals, they're going to have it ingrained in them and these memories as kids so that then when they grow up, these are like lifelong skills that they will have and can lean back on and be like, oh, yeah, mom used to serve these healthy meals and I always used to help her plan, or we always ate as a family and have those great memories to kind of look back on together that they can bring to their families one day. So, another part of family meals is family style dining. And this is also a new concept to some families, but it's essentially serving like food in separate components instead of pre-plated meals. I know even for myself, like I'm used to, scooping like a serving on my kid's plate and just handing it to them because it feels so much faster in the moment, easier. But when they have like a bowl of broccoli and then a bowl of sausages and then a bowl of noodles, which is what we had for dinner tonight. I put like fun tongs in the sausages bowl so that my little ones could pick and serve how much they wanted on their own plate. So it's giving them a sense of control, right? They get to pick how many pieces go on their plate. They get to pick if it's one piece or five pieces. It's kind of giving them that sense of control where you're not going to get in a fight with them if you were to like ask them, "Oh, do you want chicken nuggets or do you want steak?" Like that's a fight we don't want to get into at meal times because most likely it's going to cause a lot of drama and tiffs that we don't really want to have at meal times. We want it to kind of go as smoothly as possible. Um, but this family style dining, having all the food at the table really encourages the independence and decision makers for our little ones. And we can say things like, it's okay if you don't want to eat it. We can still have it on our plate and we can still learn about it. That's usually for like the younger kiddos. And then I know a few parents had kids that were 12, 15 years old and that would look a little bit different. We can still essentially say like this is what's for dinner, and then it's your choice if you decide to eat it or not. But having everything in the middle of the table is going to help reduce those battles by giving our kids choices. So building the balanced meal. So I like to have I really base every meal on these three categories: a protein, a fruit or veggie, and a grain. And this helps me because I build my meal first and then I kind of work around everyone else. So if I want to have like salmon, then I would pick my veggie and then my grain, and then that's how I would serve every meal with those three components. And then for little ones that are piggy eaters, I would make sure, and this is where I would tweak it to make sure that they have like a safe food. So if we're doing a carb and they really like potatoes, I would make sure that they had the potatoes could be the grain slash carb for the evening. Always having something that you know that they will eat on their plate so that they don't feel that anxiety and the added stress around the meals. So some quick and easy meal ideas. So when I plan my meals, I will plan them on a Saturday because that's when I think the best and have the most downtime because my husband is home. I alternate days with the protein and I kind of back into it and plan the whole week out. So alternating days, meaning like I would have chicken on Monday and chicken on Thursday, and then I would do like a beef for like Taco Tuesday, and then leftovers one night, so that you're not having like beef, 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 beef every day, or get into a rut of having chicken nuggets every day because nothing is planned. This just helps me see and add variety. I can also see if like look at the big picture of the week and see if I'm having, broccoli because that's the only veggie that everyone likes every single night. And if I need to tweak it and maybe add in like green beans one night or Brussels sprouts to just throw in some variety. But I really like doing themed days like Taco Tuesday or make your own pizza Friday, um, or slow cooker Sunday because it just takes some of the mental load off of me. I'm like, okay, I don't have to think about all of these categories of meals. I already have them listed. So even like Taco Tuesday, you can even switch it up by doing like enchiladas or something Mexican related on those days. That's how I kind of keep the variety going, or just like different toppings. And then some of my favorite meals or quick meals are, like I said, we had tonight, we had sausages, we didn't have green beans, but we had broccoli, and then pasta. So the protein, the veggie, and the grain. A crock pot meal that is so easy is just like a pulled pork shoulder, and I'll dump like fire roasted tomatoes on top of it and just let it cook. And then you can grab tortillas, and then I air fry broccoli, and it just makes it so quick and easy. Another one of our favorite go-to meals is like grilling um, chicken breast, diced veggies, and feta cheese. And I have one of the veggie choppers, and it is so helpful. My husband really likes, I mean, he's not really a fan of onions, but the veggie chopper, you can dice them so tiny that when it's grilled, he like loves it. Usually he would like pick out the onions, but when they're diced so tiny, he like eats them. So that's another little hack for you. Veggie choppers are a great way to make things very tiny and then a little bit less overwhelming for our kids or picky eaters. And then stir fry is another one of my favorite go-to meals that are quick and healthy. I like it because you can do brown rice instead of white rice. You can pick your meat. And then if you wanted to, even if you had a picky eater who doesn't like combined meals, you could even separate the chicken. Because usually for picky eaters, especially those who are super sensory sensitive, they have to be able to eat the food separate before it's all combined. So if you would grill or saute the chicken, I would just separate the chicken for the little one and then eventually mix the rest all together and then serve that. So that would take a little bit of the pressure off, and then they might want to like mix it all back together themselves after. You never know. So making meals more appealing to picky eaters. Like I said, using fun tools like those tongs to help them serve their own food. Games are really motivating. And I say play, which changes based on the child's age. So, how a child plays when they're 3 and younger changes. When they're 3 and older, 3 to 7 changes. And then when they're above 7, that changes too. Obviously, with a 12 and 15-year-old, this is going to look a lot different. But I would still use their motivation, something that they're motivated by, in order to get them interested in trying new foods. So, it could look something like mom has a goal of sticking to her meal plan 4 days out of the week. Perfect. Or 5 days out of the week. And then your husband could or your partner could come up with a goal for himself, and then your child could come up with a goal for him or herself, and you could kind of make it like fun to see who could stick to their goals or who could get that many days, like stick to their plan for the week. So maybe you're a picky eater, one of their goals could be saying something positive about new foods or learning about a new food, maybe smelling the food instead of just looking at it, or maybe licking the food instead of just saying no thanks, or um, trying one bite. um, a little goal like that. Or if it's motivating to have them pick out a special recipe that they want to make or help you plan the meal. But using their interests to get them motivated is one of like a huge theme, because even we're motivated by different things, and it's usually our interests, and it's usually being like acknowledged for something that we did. Like if your boss at work says, "Hey, you did a great job doing X, Y, and Z," you're going to do it more. That positive reinforcement is so good. So even if they set their own goals, that's more intrinsic motivation for them to want to complete it. And it's getting them more interested themselves in trying the new food. So that's a strategy for the older ones. But yeah, roasting veggies makes them a little bit sweeter with olive oil and salt, and just put it in the oven. Using the air fryer if your child likes crispy foods, crunchy. I loved air fry my broccoli. My boys love it, which is I think is so funny to me. Serving dips, hummus, ranch, any way that you can teach your child to like change the taste. um, if you get a recipe book, when I did my autoimmune protocol, I went to Barnes and Noble and I bought like three different cookbooks. I've never owned a cookbook until this year. Um, and I found a bunch of recipes and I got sticky notes, and my boys helped me go through them and find ones that looked good. So that was motivating for not only myself, but it kind of warned them like what was to come. Like, we're going to try this new food, and I'm not so sure about how it's going to taste, but I'm going to be brave and I'm going to make it. And kind of just like modeling and speaking those positive words to our kids when we're doing new things is super important, and it's very motivating for them. It's empowering for both you and your child, because you're modeling like you can do things that are out of your comfort zone. You can try and eat healthier, which sometimes are really bad or hard habits to break if we're stuck. We're doing new things by trying new workouts. And I think modeling that for our kids is amazing, because they can see us do it and then they're going to be motivated to follow in our footsteps and make those choices. So, some ways to expand their diet. So, like I said, make it fun, using their interest. Language is super important too. So, using empowering, like you can language. So, if our child is like, "No, I'm not eating that," we can say something like, "Okay, but you can still put it on your plate. You can still fill in the blank." Like you can still explore it. We can still smell it. We can give it a lick. Other things that older kiddos work it with um, to say with them is sometimes it takes a few times trying a food before we decide if we like it or not. And I always tell my kids a story about how I tried sushi 3 times before I decided that I liked it. So it's okay if we try it a few times and we don't like it. And trying means it actually goes into our belly, not just like lick. I licked it 1 time, so definitely don't like it. And then just always having this like learning cap on with our kids, like it's okay if they don't eat it. And we can tell them like it's okay if you don't eat it, but we can still learn about the food. So we can learn about it by smelling it, by tasting it, by biting and spitting it out if we're not sure about it yet. And just serving those underwhelming pieces. So, like I said, the veggies chopped super small, and then exploring through our senses. So, when I talked about the 32 steps to eating, It's all through our senses. So first it's just being in the room with the food, and then we work on having the food on our plate, and then working on like touching it with one finger, and then smelling it, and then licking it, and then eventually biting it and eating it. Now I condensed like those 32 steps down a lot, but you can basically see how it's kind of scaffolded to make it a little bit easier for our kids. Um, and then through our senses, it's just like less intimidating. They don't feel pressured to eat it. They're just exploring it. And that would be low pressure exposure. Um, some other things that we can try are different ways to prepare the food. So, raw carrots instead of cooked carrots. Sometimes the shredded carrots are easier for our kids versus like the big, like baby carrots or whole carrots. Um, and then food chaining is a strategy that I like using with my kids, where you find a similar texture or taste to a food that they already like and find foods that are similar. So if they really like crunchy foods like bacon, then maybe they would like crunchy foods like fry, like air fried broccoli, where it's both crunchy. Um, so using the same like sensory components so that they're similar to our kids can go a long way. And then getting them involved in meal prep. So I know you've probably heard this a million times, and um, it feels like it does nothing, but it really does help expose them to seeing it visually. And then if they can pick it out themselves, like the older kiddos, then they're going to be more willing to try it because they had some say in it. Oops. Okay. So when everyone likes something different, what do we do? So I go back to planning, and I really like planning actually at dinner time, when we're like sitting and eating dinner together. So I make a list of foods, or you can do this, is a great thing to do. Make a list of the foods and categories as a family. So like all of the proteins your family likes, all of the veggies, and all of the grains. And I know some family, I think someone wrote in that a lot of you have like dietary restrictions. So this might be extra helpful for you because if you actually see it on paper, sometimes it's easier than like having it in your head. And then planning out meals on the weekends using the different categories. So choosing meals from, or one protein from one section, one carb from another section, and a veggie from another one. And making sure that there's at least one food that your picky eater will eat at the meal. So sometimes this looks like sitting down with our child and talking about what he or she would like for the meal or how we can move things around. I ideally would only cook one meal. And I think that there is a way to do that with your picky eater. And it goes back to the Saturn division of responsibility. And this is something that I always have in the back of my mind when I'm having a tough feeding day. And yes, that still happens to me, with my kids, or my husband will be like, oh, just take one more bite. And I'm like, oh, we can't, we don't need to say that. um, but the Saturn division of responsibility is that parents take the responsibility with what food they serve, when they serve it, and where, and the child determines how much or whether to eat what you provide. So I know this is like hard to let go of because we want so badly to make sure our kids are nourished. Um, Dinner time is the hardest meal for our kids because usually they fill up in their calories in the morning and then kind of just drift in the afternoon. Um, but when I just go back to that saying, like, my job is to offer the balanced meal and their job is to decide what to eat. And then with a severe picky eater who really will not try anything, um, I would work on having another time where you work on those specific foods with them, but also you're going to be, you want to be considerate and not catering. So your child is never going to learn to eat grilled chicken if he's never presented with the grilled chicken and if he never works up those steps to eating the grilled chicken through play. It doesn't have to be so serious. Like it can be fun. It can look like cutting it open and exploring what's inside. It can be smelling it. Like all of that is getting them closer to eating it. But sometimes we just get so nervous. We're like, oh, he'll only eat chicken nuggets, so I'm only giving him chicken nuggets. And then you lose this whole chance of your child ever surprising you. When I did the autoimmune protocol, I was like, I texted my husband, I was like, what are the boys gonna do? Like, we rarely eat salmon. What are they gonna do when I put salmon on their plate? And I was like, you know what? It's my responsibility to serve it, and then they can choose how they learn about it. And I served a very, very small piece of the salmon for my child and was just like, you can have it on your plate and you can learn about it. And then he decided to smell it and then lick it and then eat it. And that's all he ate was one tiny piece of salmon, but there was no fighting, there was no pushback. We want them to be able to sit there and want to get curious about that food and not immediately have the like absolutely not push it away temper tantrum like behavior. Oops. Okay. I don't know if anyone is on. Do we have any? I know I feel like I'm talking really fast. But if anyone has any questions, um, feel free to ask them. I think I tried to cover most of the questions that came through yesterday from you.
Hey, it's Sahar. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just like in transit, so I'm kind of all over the place at the moment. I'm in my garage unloading groceries, speaking of food of all things. Um, a lot of my challenge, I was the one who wrote in with an older picky eater, and one of my big challenges is that um just like his refusal to try, especially he's older, he's 15, and we tried a lot of those things when he was little and we would get somewhere, but now he's kind of found his rut of and what's strange when we go to a pediatrician is like they're like, well, he's getting all the things, right? But it's just he's so selective, right? There's so few that he tries. So he's super healthy. He just, which is not a bad thing. It's just it's the lack of variety. So I'd be curious, like I love that idea of that you were mentioning of the list of like your family likes in different categories, because we definitely try to focus on that too. I just be curious of like maybe is there a chart of all the different steps and like the 30 I don't know, sorry, I couldn't see the slides because I was going around, so I'll go back and watch, but I think that would help. And like how do we bridge that gap essentially, because like you said, if you don't present it, they're never going to eat it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do actually have, I can send it over to Amy, or if you want to message me, I can send you, I have a little chart for the steps to eating. And what's really cool is some families have said like if their child explores through all of the senses, then they get like some reward or like I don't call it a reward, but like a positive thing after the end of the week. So that could be like his challenge. Like he could even pick like, oh, I'm gonna smell like 5 foods this week. And then if he smells 5 foods, then he can get like, I don't know, like extra one-on-one time with mom or extra 2 minutes past bedtime or something like whatever is in your family's you think is a good like positive reinforcement after. But I think that would be great. And as I think also what helps is if he chooses like what he could get if he stuck to his goals of exploring food. That would be more motivating, I think, for him, because it always goes back to like interest and motivation for goals, just like our goals. Like, if I want to work out, what is my reward going to be for
Yeah,
working out?
definitely. They have a lot of opinions at this age, so getting them involved in that sense is big.
Yeah. So I can send you the little, I think it's only broken down into 7. But I think it would be a great starting point for him. And then he could kind of look back on and see like what food you could put like the name of the food on the top, and then he could go and like check off everything that he did. He could even write what he liked about smelling it or licking it, or touching it on whatever's like motivating for him.
That'd be great.
Awesome. And if you have anything else that comes up, feel free to message me. I have the next slide, my contact information. So my
Awesome.
messages are always
Yeah.
open. But yeah, I just want to help you guys. Hopefully, some of these tips helped you see that family meals can be simple, even with sticking to your meal plan. And having that flexibility even with your picky eaters and starting small. And I think it'll go a long way. I also do have a food cards game. I'm not sure if Sahar, if it'll work with your older one, but it's kind of it's just like different things that you can do with the food. So it's like which food on your plate has the biggest smell and which food has the smallest smell. And so it's just like kind of like a fun thing to do at the dinner table.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, we love games. Like we often like that's something we do at the dinner. Well, we haven't for a while because it's just been hectic. But typically when we set like we like engaging in games, like we always do, like pick a country. I'm thinking of a country, and we give hints. Like I don't know why we're so into geography. That's our nerd area of love. And so like everyone gets to pick one, does a turn. But so we do like games a lot. And it also, like you said, it distracts from the food, right? Like doesn't make it about the food. It makes it just about being with each other, which is great, right? So we do that a lot with either people or geography. So yeah, sometimes we've even played spades at the dinner table because, you know, I have two very competitive boys who love winning stuff. So like that can definitely draw them in. So yeah, we we tend to be very creative. Yeah, so maybe even the food card game, who knows? It would have to like I think it would only work if we all did it together and they saw that we weren't scared of it too, at the same time.
Absolutely. I love that. I would definitely lean into that competitive nature. Like, mom sets a goal for sticking to her meal plan, the boys set their own goal around trying new foods, and then whoever wins gets to pick the game of the week or the movie you watch one night or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome.
Hey, that was really great, Alexandra.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Hopefully helpful and I didn't speak too fast.
No, you did great. And I think too, it's sometimes it just takes one idea to be able to like run with it and then implement it. And then, once you get some wins and then continuing to explore various strategies from there.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Good question, Sahar. All right. Well, I think we
I
can start.
try. Lots of years of picky eating experiences. So believe it or not, we have come a long way. So
That's
it does
great.
kind of get better. And I keep just saying, I was like, just wait till you get to college. You will get to experience that in college, apparently, because you don't believe me that it's good now. But that's okay.
That's funny. Love it. Love, love.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thanks so much for sharing your contact info. I'm going to I'll send that out with the recording for sure. And so that way everybody can get in touch with you, maybe join your Facebook group and get some of your guidance.
Yes, awesome. Would love to connect, answer any questions you guys might have. Yeah, also I can send you, Amy, the Playful Plates card game and then the other chart, the check chart.
Okay, awesome. Very good. All right,
Yay.
guys, have a great night and we'll see everybody on the next one.
Thank you for having me, Amy.
Thank you for coming on.